Good morning and welcome to another interview here at the Bedford Television Studios in Bedford, New Hampshire. Today is the 30th of May, 2018. Time is going by fast. The show is coming to you, the cooperation of the group here. My program is called the Veterans History Project under the guise of the Library of Congress's Veteran History Project, wherein that program started back in the year 2000 with a station such as this, and guys like me, I guess, if they can and will give every veteran, male and female, who served anywhere in any of the wars from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Desert Steel, Desert Storm, Iraq, you name it, the opportunity to share that experience in a televised interview. We will give each of the veterans a copy for their own use and for their family, and it is a wonderful addition. Actually, one guy put it this way, he said, it's a priceless legacy because we are recording history by the people who made it. There's nothing glossy, there's nothing phony, there's nothing dreaming about it. It's what really happened, good or bad. We have another one today, but before I start that, I have to share this with you. Remember this number, 211. It's a telephone link throughout the state of New Hampshire where any veteran who has had at least 6 months honorable service and an honorable discharge has access to, well, you can't read it, but there's some 28 or 29 different people and organizations that are pledged to give you whatever help you need if they can do it. You have to ask for it, but if you do, use it. You earned it, it's there for you to help. Well, today we have another young fellow. We're going to go back, have him tell us what he did, and then we'll take the show from there, okay? Leo, you're on. If you will, tell us your name, where you live, branch of service, and dates of service, please.
Leo Pellitier. I live in Nashua, New Hampshire. I was in the U.S. Navy Seabees.
Uh-huh.
And, oh, you like that.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell. Let's see, probably, I believe it was 66 through 72, but only 2 of those years were active. 4 of those years were reserve.
But they were very active, I would
Oh,
guess.
yes, they were.
Okay.
That's pretty much what I did, you know,
Okay.
where I was.
And now, what are you doing now in the afterlife, if you will, just very quickly?
Oh, I'm retired right now, and I'm having a good time.
You're too young to be retired.
I just do things I love to do, and primarily I love playing music,
Okay.
which is what I did when I was in the service as well.
We'll get to that.
Uh-huh.
That was your gold mine, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, let's go back and find out how you came to be. For example, when were you born and where, and what was your life like as a child, growing up through school and all that kind of stuff? Brothers and sisters, any members of your group in the family, in any branches of the service that you had, an uncle, aunt, or whatever. Mm-hmm. You know, what's you? What?
Well, I was born September 7, 1945 in Nashua.
December 7th?
September.
Oh, excuse me.
September 7th.
December 7th has a...
Yeah, it's got a ring, yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, let's see, what else did you ask me?
Well, for example, what did your dad do to get a little history? Yeah.
Well, my dad was a taxi driver. My mother was a stay-home mom. And back then we had 6 kids in the family. And
you oldest, youngest?
No, I was the baby and I was the only boy. There were 5 girls.
And you were spoiled rotten.
Oh, jeez. They keep telling me all the time how spoiled I was.
Has it changed over the years?
No.
Or you learned how to play it?
Well, I think when I got to be a teenager, right around 16, they lowered the boom.
Uh-oh.
No more spoiling him anymore.
Okay.
So I had to earn my own way.
Now, what did you do as a kid? For example, growing up through kindergarten and so forth. How did you make yourself useful, and what did you do for games and activities?
Well, I used to like most little boys, I used to like playing cowboys and Indians and all the superheroes and stuff like that. And I went to a school called St. Francis Xavier, which was run by nuns, of course. Back then, everybody went to those schools. And I took music lessons. I learned how to play saxophone. I played sandlot baseball and football and that kind of stuff because it wasn't available. The the little leagues and stuff were available to certain kids, but not to everybody back then, you know. So I like sports. My sisters convinced my mother never to let me play sports because I might get hurt.
Oh.
But I played anyway. You know how that is.
In school, were you on any teams, basketball, hockey?
No, I was on a CYO basketball team when I was, what was it? I think I was in high school. Back then, that's when they played CYO. They didn't have any junior teams. They just had the senior teams. And yeah, I played basketball for CYO.
Well, how about in the wintertime, living in this area, did you do the winter sports like skiing or ice hockey?
Nope, I wasn't big on any of those.
Oh?
You know, I used to like to skate, but it was just, you know, go out to the rinks that they had out here that the city used to put up. And
the big fields with the moat around them and the firemen.
Yeah, oh yeah, the firemen with the guys freezing it all the time. It was good.
You
We
ever have
enjoyed it.
reminds me when we used to do the same thing. One of the places we went to get there went by a store, and the guy had a little stand out front, and every once in a while a potato would flop into your hand by accident. And you get to the rink and you wrap it up and put it along the coals of the fire. And by the time you got through skating and get ready to go home, it was crusted and dirty, but you pop it open, nice, wild manure. Oh,
Well,
potatoes in the word.
I never went to a place that had some place like that. The only thing that we had was every now and again, somebody would, well, they didn't even bring grills in those days. They were just little, you know, hibachi types things, and they would cook some hot dogs and stuff, and we would have hot dogs.
Best tasting in the
Oh,
world.
jeez.
You couldn't beat it.
Yeah.
But no matter when you get home.
Hot
the
dogs
stuff
never
all over.
tasted the same.
I know.
No.
People don't know that, but it could be fun. How were you in school? Were you a good student? Anything special?
Oh, well, I wasn't an exceptional student, but I wasn't, you know, I wasn't a complete failure either. I could
don't
go.
knock yourself. People do that without any help.
I went both ways. You know,
Okay.
I would get lazy sometimes, and especially in high school, I'd get lazy. And then somebody would, probably the band director, would say, "Hey, you're not doing very well here, you know, and you're doing okay in band. You're getting straight A's, but you're not doing
You
very
can't
well."
stay in band unless you keep the rest up.
Exactly. And, well, as a matter of fact, just a note there, my band director passed away a couple days ago.
Oh,
He was the band director for 45 years
At
at
the same school?
Nashua High School. Yeah.
wow.
So I went to the wake last night. It was pretty sad,
Yeah.
you know. But it brings you back to where you want
Well,
me to
it's
go.
part of your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
part of your life.
I spoke French fluently because I went to school with the French-speaking nuns, and my mother was
Now,
French-Canadian.
does that put you on the west side, as they call it? They say, I'm a transplant from Boston. And when people talk, they say, oh, I'm east side or I'm west side. What's the difference and why? Do you have any ideas? Is it political, social, or just happen to be?
Well, you know, they were ghettos, all of these places. They were primarily, especially Nashua, you probably had one section of town that was Greek, another section of town, what you had, most of it was French-Canadian. And
Are they from Canada down?
oh yeah, they came down, you know, visas and worked in construction and everything else. And it was pretty much, there was Polish, Greek, and French pretty much in the city of Nashua. And each one of these areas spoke their language, and you would go into the grocery stores and they were speaking Greek. You'd go into another grocery store, they were speaking Polish, French, and that's the way it went all the time. And I call them small ghettos because that's what they were.
It was a cluster,
They
yeah.
were.
The ghetto doesn't mean it's a
Yeah.
bad group.
No, it wasn't bad. It was fun. We never knew we lived in a ghetto area.
I know,
we
didn't even
loved
know
it.
I had one.
Yeah, we didn't even know what the word meant.
Yeah.
But we were all happy to just grow up. But
Now, did you mix well among each other, or did you stay closely within your own little groups? Any
Well-
like group wars or gang territory
no,
stuff?
we never really had. We didn't go on the other guy's turf, and he didn't come on our turf.
Okay.
But we never had wars or anything like that. You know, we never went looking for anything. And if we did go and play a football game in an area where it was primarily Irish, we never really had any problems. I never saw that when I was growing up.
We
I never
didn't
saw.
know we
Yeah.
had that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
We didn't know we were any different.
Yeah.
You know.
A guy sitting, I interviewed one time, I said, well, how was your life growing up? He says, well, we didn't know we were poor, but we had a hell of a good time getting there.
My sisters tell me that all the time. We were poor, but we didn't know it.
I know, but you had nothing to compare it to.
Yep.
Now, when you got through school, what would you do? Now, to that one, did you have a specialty subject like business or trade or something like that when you were going to high school to get ready to go?
Not to high school. High school, you know, I was kind of just interested in being in the band, and that was it. And we used to like to go for sports and stuff. But the subjects in school were subjects in school. They were work. They weren't really fun, you know.
Hey.
So the fun part, the stuff we always liked to do, was the band and play sports and go to sporting things and everything. But we didn't put a lot of emphasis on education. I had no intentions whatsoever of going to college, because back then, you know, you were lucky to get through high school, and I get through high school, I'm done with school.
Yeah. Now, was that the time when the mills around here were looking for bodies, if you will, and everybody,
Yeah.
you got through school, you went and got,
Everybody
you
got
punched
jobs.
in, you went to get a job
Yeah.
someplace.
Oh yeah. You wanted to make money.
Yeah.
You know, there'd be any place.
Yeah,
you know.
You make $10 a week, you give your mother at least 5, and the rest you spend wildly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But it was good money.
Oh yeah. And it was honest.
Oh, yeah.
It was honest. We didn't steal anything. You know. Of course, I was raised by somebody that, if I remember going to, I might have been about maybe 8 or 9 years old, and my mother sent me to the corner cobbler. Back then they had cobblers, the thick shoes.
Makes the shoes
Yep.
good.
So she sent me there to pick up a pair of shoes, and while I was waiting for him to get the shoes, there was a bunch of tacks, you know, little shoe tacks. So I picked up a handful and put them in my pocket. When I got home, I forgot about them. And when my mother was washing the pants, she found the tacks.
Yeah.
And she said to me, "Where did you get that?" And I said, "Oh, well, I got them from the cobbler's place." "Did he give them to you?" "No, not really."
Yeah.
So she marched me back there with the tacks,
Yeah.
and she looked at him and said, "He took these tacks without permission, and, you know, we're bringing them back." And the cobbler said, "Thank you for your honesty," you know.
Yeah.
But I was raised that way.
I know.
So when my kids were growing up, they got the same treatment.
Oh, hell yeah.
You didn't lie to people, and you
No.
didn't take something that wasn't yours.
Well, my grandfather gave my father instructions that passed to us, and I've tried to give to my kids and my grandkids. He said, the best and the easiest thing to do is to tell the truth, because once you do that, you don't have to remember what you said last time. He said, but if you lie to me, no matter what, he says, we'll go out back. And I don't know how they had it in your family, but the deadliest words that we heard in our family, if we'd done something wrong, or we're innocent, but somewhere we got tight, wait till your father gets home. Oh man, the clouds would shake. You know?
Well, see, we had a situation where my father, when I was around 3, he had cerebral hemorrhage.
Oh,
He was disabled the rest of his life, wasn't able to work. So the discipline fell to my mother. And my goodness, that woman, she had an arm of steel.
oh yeah.
You know, if I did something wrong, I paid the price. And never would I lift my hand to her.
Oh, you didn't dare.
No.
No. The thing she used, she had a way of pinching the little part of your ear, and it brought you right to the real world real quick.
I remember I had gone out and rode my cousin's bicycle, and she told me, "Don't ride that bicycle. You don't know how to ride bicycles,
don't
and if
break
you
it."
break it,
Yeah.
we'll have to pay for it."
Yeah.
Well, I jumped right on the bicycle, slid in the sand, and broke it.
How?
So I walked into the house, and she was putting rubber mats. Back and then, they were little rubber mats. You cut the strips, and you put them on the stairs.
Yeah, keep
Going
it
up the
sliding,
stairs. She grabbed a couple of those strips,
Mhm.
and man, did I get it. Didn't leave any marks or anything, but boy, did I get it.
Oh, yeah.
And I said to my wife, I tell her the story, and I said, you know, my mother could have been arrested 1,000
Yeah,
times
child abuse.
with me.
Today, you'd be an orphan.
Yeah, I didn't learn either.
I know.
You know, I just, but she didn't have the luxury of having a man help her out.
Yeah.
So she was so worried that I would turn out bad that she
Make
had
sure
to
you
take it
didn't
up.
have a chance
Oh yeah,
to be tempted.
oh yeah,
Hard love, they call it.
oh yeah.
Real hard. Sometimes you had to stand to eat supper.
Oh, I cried like a baby when she died. So the hard love paid.
Oh, yeah. Big boys don't cry except.
Yeah, when mom goes.
Yeah. Now, any of your family in the service, World War II?
I had an uncle that was in World War II, my mother's brother. He was killed at Enzio, I believe. The story I got was that he drove over a mine in a truck. He was a truck driver. And then, you know, we never knew a lot. The kids never knew a lot about it.
They didn't
But
talk
my
about it.
mother kept it
Yeah.
all those years. So when I got in there, first of all, I enlisted.
Where and when and why?
Well, back then, I was going to college, but I wasn't a full-time student. I was only part-time. I was going to Rivier College, which didn't have any male students back then. They were just trying it out. So they wouldn't let us be full-time students.
Was that the French-Canadian school and such? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So after maybe a year or so, I ran out of money. I couldn't pay to go to college anymore. And, you know, I wasn't going to get any help because, first of all, I wasn't really, you know, a college student. Yeah, yeah. So all of a sudden, they started, you know, drafting a lot of people and everything. And I said, well, maybe I should probably look at the possibility of going someplace and doing. My mother didn't want me in a combat unit.
Oh.
Because her brother died that way. She wanted me in either the Air Force or, well, I'm not saying the Air Force is not a combat
You
unit.
just made a lot of enemies.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
I know.
She just didn't want me in an
Exposed.
infantry type thing. And so I said, I figured I'd make my mother happy. I'll join the Navy, right? I'll get 3 squares a day and I won't have to worry about sleeping in the mud and stuff. So that's how I got into the Navy. And I got, you know, my mother was happy, but when she found out that I was on a destroyer and I got transferred off that destroyer and sent to a place called Port Hueneme, well, she didn't know what it was.
Okay, let's stop right there a minute. I'd like you to hold this up. That's, you know, your boot camp show to the camera there. So this is what he used to look like, folks, before and after.
God, I wish I could go back.
Okay, thank you.
And when I got transferred to Port Hueneme, she didn't know anything about Port Hueneme, and you know.
Okay. Well, when did you get formally sworn? How'd you get there?
Well, I enlisted. In the Navy Reserve.
Where, here in Boston?
No, it was in Manchester at the time. They had a reserve group in Manchester, and I enlisted into that. And the day after that, I got induction notices. So I was kind of happy I did what I did, you know, because God knows where I would have ended up.
Oh, you mean your draft notice?
Yeah.
Induction, you're fancy.
Yeah. Mm. So anyway.
Where'd you go?
I went, my basic training was at Great Lakes.
What year? Year and month, if you can remember.
60, I think I went to Great Lakes in 64. The latter part of 64, I had the basic training, and then you could come home for a year.
Yeah.
And then I went in active 66 to 68.
Now, how'd you get in the Seabees?
I was on the destroyer to start off with, and I got sick every time we went out. Every single time. I couldn't keep anything down. So finally, the captain called me in, and he said, "Listen, you're getting sick every time you go. I don't think you're meant to be on a ship."
No, we can't clean up all the
No.
time.
So he says, I'm gonna I'm going to give you I'm going to try to transfer you to a group that's going to be on shore duty all the time, you know. And I said, okay. I had no idea what he was talking about, you
Which
know,
shore?
because I hadn't seen John Wayne's movie yet.
You're lucky.
So anyways, to make a long story short, that's how I got into the Seabees. You know, I got transferred into that from the ship. And
Where did they send you? Davisville, Hueneme, Gulfport?
Port Hueneme.
Okay.
And it was funny, too, because I had no idea. I was in a transit barracks in Rhode Island. The
Davisville.
Yeah. No, it wasn't Davisville. It was a transit. It's where the destroyer base was.
Oh,
at
okay.
Davisville.
That other Navy.
Yeah. So I was in a transit barrack waiting for orders. And everybody else that was in there was waiting for ships and everything. So they'd get the USS this and the USS that and USS that. And all of a sudden I get this thing that goes abbreviated. It said, "Poor you." So I gave the guy next to me an elbow and said, "What the hell is a poor you?" And he looked at me and says, "It's shore station. And you're going to Port Hueneme." And I says, "Oh." He said, "Yeah, you're going to be in the Seabees." I had no clue that's what it was all about.
That was it,
But
huh?
back when you didn't know anything, you just followed.
Oh,
you know.
yeah. Amen. And yes, sir, no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what were your first days like when you started boot camp and that kind of stuff? I ask every guy, and everybody has the same thing, but what was your reaction when you became no more long civilian, now government property?
Well, the first thing I noticed at boot camp was the sign that said "Dogs and Sailors Off the Grass."
Yeah.
And I knew right then and there where I was classified. And
Were you a dog?
no, I wasn't the dog. The dog was before the sailor.
And watch where you step.
Yeah. But I was okay. I was okay with it. I knew it was going to be tough. I mean, I knew they did scare the daylights out of you right away. Because you're a high school kid who just comes in there and they're yelling at you and they're screaming at you. And you're saying, why are they yelling at me?
Well, that was the days before you had to be polite. The
no.
drill instructors would say, "Please do."
No. The drill instructors back then were drill instructors.
Yeah, they
That's
drilled
it.
in you.
Oh, yeah.
But it paid off.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Paid off.
Oh, yeah. You learned an awful lot of things from those guys, you know, and not just bad language, but that came with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But we had a chief that was in charge of us, gold braid and gold all the way up and down his arm. And Chief Moore was his name. And toughest little son of a gun I've ever seen in my life. And he'd go over to the biggest guy there, and he'd look at him and say, "You want to raise your hand to me?"
Try it.
This guy was stationed in Korea. He was stationed every place, you know. He knew.
He'd been there.
He knew all the martial arts. He knew how to take care of himself. And boy, he'd come over to the big, and then he'd turn around and look at the biggest guy in the group and he'd say, "You're in charge. And if they screw up, I get you."
Okay.
Boy, that big guy would tell us what to do, and we'd do it. Oh, yeah, we'd do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talked to my son, who's Army engineers now.
Now he's the one getting out
Yeah,
after 28
yeah,
years.
After 28 years.
Wow.
And I saw a difference from his boot camp to mine. And he wrote me a letter, and he said, "Dad, it's every bit as bad as you said it was, and worse." So I said, "You should have been to mine, because it was easier back then." You know, he tells me today, he says, "It's just not the same anymore." He said, "You could, you know, if some guy puts a tag on his shirt that says, 'I'm stressed,' you got to back off."
Really?
Medically, yeah, you got to back off. Because they've been throwing themselves off of buildings and everything for years. But now you have to have
You got to have a pass the leap. Yeah,
it's difficult. He says it's not the same as when you were in, but it's still scary. He says it's scary.
Well, when you got in, how did you get to select what you wanted to do? Equip an operator?
Well, they gave you a dream sheet.
A who?
A dream sheet. You filled out a dream sheet. And
tell us what that is. That's
okay.
new to me.
It was a form, more or less, with all these different duty stations that you could pick. mostly the duty stations it was, overseas and U.S. So I picked Gulfport, Mississippi. I ended up at Port Hueneme.
That's
I
not too
I
bad.
also picked Rota, Spain. I ended up in California on my way to Vietnam. So the dream sheet didn't really work that well.
You had a nightmare, not
Oh
a
yeah,
dream.
oh yeah. So they said I didn't get anything I put down on the dream sheet, and when they were through with the dream sheet, I got called into the office, and they said, we're going to send you down to the medics. And I said, what for? And they said, well, apparently they lost your shot record. Do you have your shot card? I didn't have my shot card. I didn't know what it was. And next thing you know, I'm having all the shots over
Bing,
again.
bing, bing.
Oh, and boy, did that hurt the second time, you know, because I knew what I was getting. You know, the first time with boot camp, you know, they got you outside with a rifle and they worked it out.
Chug, chug, chug,
Yep.
chug.
But they didn't do that at Port Hueneme. My arms, it just felt like they were dead.
But you made it.
Oh yeah,
You made
I
it.
survived that.
Okay. Now, what was your MOS?
My MOS was equipment operator.
Which means what? So, see,
have-
we don't know here. You tell us.
Okay. In the Seabees, an equipment operator there's an equipment operator heavy and equipment operator light. The heavy is the guys that operate the bulldozers, the cranes, any real heavy equipment.
Massive equipment, yeah.
The light are the people that drive semis, buses, you know, that sort of thing, oil trucks, you know. We drive the smaller ones, and I was the light. They told me I could go to A school and learn how to be the heavy, but I would have had to, you know, add another couple of years to my stay. And I said, no, I think I'll drive the trucks, you know. And that worked out fine for me, too. I drove a few times, but, you know, up until I was transferred into the band, you know.
Okay, now, when you were, would you say you ended up outside? When did you go in country? When were you sent in country to Nam?
They were sending me, let's see, probably a month after I got to Port Hueneme, MCB-10 was, they had all
to go.
Yeah, well, we were scheduled to go to Pendleton for training because the whole group had gone before I got there. So I was going to go there alone, you know. But they figured, well, we're going to forget about it because he's already had training. So we're going to send him to
Was it
Vietnam.
the small arms rifle and
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff? For qualification, yeah.
Yeah, and I had some of that already.
Okay.
So-
How'd you make out? Were you sharpshooter, excellent, expert?
Oh, no.
Side of a barn?
I had a problem with one eye. I kept aiming with my left eye because it was dominant. But I was supposed to be aiming with the right.
Oh, Christ, you killed everybody besides you. You're
So
dangerous.
They would put a patch over my left eye for qualifying and everything. They put a patch over my left eye so that it'd be forced to
Okay.
use the right eye. The right eye is one of those, what do they call it? It's got a,
I call it.
it's not blind or anything, but
Impaired?
it's a lazy eye.
Oh,
It's there, and if I used it, it would be fine, but I never used it.
what, you keep it in a pocket or something?
I didn't know. I tried. Doctors can't even tell me what that is.
But that's parallax. You're at least 15 degrees off no matter where you look.
Yeah.
Now, how is it when you're driving? Do you aim this way to get around the street?
Okay, when I'm driving, I have to drive with this eye closed and focus with this eye.
And you
because
got a
although-
license?
Yeah.
No restrictions?
Yeah. Well, when I take the test, I close one eye and I pass that, and then she tells me use the other eye, and I get the right side of the thing with this eye. Then I can see it, but the middle scope I don't get unless I close this eye, and then I get the middle scope. As long as I read it, they give it to me.
Oh.
So I talked to my doctor about that. I said it's like a prism that they can't correct. And she said, yeah, we can give you a pair of glasses for that, but they're going to make it worse eventually.
Oh,
So she says, so as long as you can see where you're going and you can visual, and you see 20/20 with that other eye, you're
Yeah,
better
but
off.
your range of vision is truncated on one side.
Well, what happens if I look with both eyes?
Yeah.
The cars on the left move into the right, and they don't really move into the right. It just looks like
Your
they're coming
eye
over.
accommodates that?
Well, if I keep the eye closed, they stay where they belong. But if I open both eyes, everything moves over, and it looks like they're coming over, and I, want to correct.
Wow.
So, but I've been like that for so long now that, it's more or less like a person that's lost an eye,
Yeah.
and you learn to live with it.
Well, now, when you were in Nam, how did you drive? Night vision, that kind of stuff?
Oh, it didn't affect me back. It was nothing like it is now.
Oh, okay.
Nothing like it is now. Back then, the reason they put the patch on was because I would not close this eye.
Oh, you cheated.
Yeah, I kept looking over with this eye.
You'd be a hell of a detective looking
Oh,
through a keyhole.
jeez. We all have our little things, huh? And if that's the only thing I ever get, God be praised.
Okay, now let's go to the interesting part. When you're just about ready to ship out,
Right.
tell us what happened and what the sequences have been. So,
Oh, well, I was, relaxing by the pool with a friend of mine, and I kept hearing. We were supposed to leave in a couple of days, so they gave us some time off, and I kept hearing a band, like a marching band, and I kept saying, "Where did we get a band?" And my friend said to me, "Well, it's a new thing. They're just starting it up, and they're going to use it as a propaganda
now
thing."
this is
And
Wainimi.
yeah.
Okay.
And I guess they did the same thing at Davisville too.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, "Yeah." He says they've been going around checking people's jackets and trying to get people that play instruments. He said, "Did you play?" And I said, "Yeah, I played in high school. Some. I played sax." And he says, "Well, go over there and see the chief and see if you can get yourself some good duty." So I said, "I don't know. It's been a long time, blah, blah, blah." And, you're
Give it a
reluctant.
shot.
Yeah, well, that's what he said.
Yeah.
He said, "Come on." He said, "I'll go with you." So he came with me.
Did he play anything? Or
No, he didn't play
tag along,
anything.
make
He
sure
just
you got
wanted
there.
me to play
Yeah.
something. So I went in there, and he talked, and the chief says, "What do you need?" And I said, "Well, they said you were looking for recruits to get into the band, and my buddy here thinks I should try out." So he asked me what kind of a background I had and the kind of sax I played, and then he said, "Well, I don't need any alto players, but I sure could use a tenor player." And I said, "Well, if you have a sax, I'm willing to learn." And he said, "Okay." So he has sat me down. He put a bunch of concert music up, and he put some dance band music up. He put marches up, and I guess I did okay. He said, "Hey, all right." He says, "I'll be in touch." So the guy with me says, "You better be in touch soon, because he's on a plane tomorrow for Vietnam." So that's when they called me. I was on the bus going to Point Magoo, or getting on the bus, and they told me to get off the bus and go see the chief. So I got off the bus and I went and see the chief, and he brought me to see a lieutenant. And he told the lieutenant, "This guy's qualified and I want him playing." And the lieutenant says, "There's one problem. We've been using guys that have served in country for this thing." And he said, "You want him to go in country? I need him now." He said, "I think I might have to talk to the commander." Well, as soon as that came out of his mouth, the lieutenant said,
No
"Pass."
Yeah, no commander.
That was it, no commander. And then after that, we went into, band must have played in about, I'd say 24 states in 2 years' time.
Wow.
Just going around, public relations with people. And people would look at us because, of course, we had a basic Navy uniform, but we had, sidearms, and we had helmets.
On bands?
Helmets, oh yeah. Well, they
Wow.
weren't real, you know, but
John Wayne could have used
oh yeah,
you.
oh geez. Well, people wanted to know. We had combat boots and everything else, and blouse combat boots, and we had probably there were 30 guys that were a drill team, throwing the rifles in the air and all that stuff.
So you were separate. You were a real you.
The,
so
the,
you
the
so
whole
you
the
were-
whole unit was together.
Now, did you have your own bus and your own barracks?
Oh
and
yeah,
all
we had
that,
our
your
own
cook?
buses. I drove the bus.
Oh, Jesus, we're going over there, fellas. No, we'll walk.
Yeah, yeah. We had that. It was fun. It was. If you could have been in the military and had a fun time,
You had it.
I had it.
Yeah.
It, you know, there was ups and downs. The bad part was when the flights would leave to go to Vietnam,
You played them off.
we had to play.
Yeah.
And we had to play when they came in. It was not fun, you know, because we knew that somehow these guys maybe appreciated it, but they also wondered why they weren't lucky,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, that's the name of the game.
Yeah. So that was the sad part of it was always a bad memory for me remembering those things, because sometimes we saw the caskets,
Oh, yeah.
you know, so,
That's a tearjerker,
oh yeah.
no matter one or a whole string.
Oh, yeah.
Now, tell the people who your chief was.
Okay.
Or tell me again.
All right. The chief, who was in charge of the band, was a chief by the name of Carlton, and he had gold up and down his arm all over. He ran the base I was on. He was, by his MO, he was a construction mechanic. And as we started playing with the band and everything like that, it got to be known throughout the band that this Chief Carlton was the lead alto sax player for Woody Herman.
Wow. So he'd been around the block.
Oh, he knew his stuff. He was really well qualified. Yeah. And, you know, good to his men, too.
Yeah.
Oh, good to his men. You know, just like the epic leader that you
Yeah.
see in the movies.
Yeah, I'll
where
follow him anywhere.
Oh, yeah. He was like that.
Yeah.
He was like that.
And as we both know, the chief runs the Navy. They have
Oh.
a CNO.
Well, you heard,
He's out front.
you heard what he said about the commander, because he would have gotten what
Oh,
he
yeah.
wanted from the commander. Yeah. So you don't even mess with those guys. They know.
Now,
But-
how often did you have to go? Were you in a monthly schedule, year, or on demand, so that you
Well,
either?
Mostly we were on demand to go outside and play, but every single day, muster used to be at 6:45, and
AM.
we'd muster. Yeah, we'd muster. After muster, the band would go into the practice hall. We'd practice 4 hours, have lunch, practice 4 more hours. That's all we did was play. Practice for 4 hours,
And you
4 hours.
practice drilling and marching, so that
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah,
We
heck,
did
all
that
that.
as well too. We had a day where that's all we did was drill. Then we had a day where we took the instruments and drilled. Then we had a day where we just practiced dance band music. We had a day where we practiced march music. We had something to do every single day, and it was supervised. I mean, you know, you didn't.
Oh, you can't go over.
Oh
it.
no, another drawback to the whole thing was, as much as I enjoyed being in the band and playing in the band, I could not make any rate or ranking because I wasn't working in my rate.
I know. So,
So-
they got you.
So, you know, you can't go up. So I was a CN, and I was a CN for 2.5 years, and that's the way
Now,
it
what's
stayed.
a CN? I don't know.
Construction then,
Oh,
E3.
that still doesn't mean.
Well, it's, you got the 1 striper and then the 2 striper. Well, I was a 3 striper, but it wasn't a bird, you know, it wasn't a
Just a hash mark
yeah,
or something?
yeah.
So I'm on the team, but if you need water, call
Yeah.
him. And if you want a driver, don't ask me.
No, no. Well, they used to make me drive
No, no.
because
Now,
I
did
was
you
a
do
lower
anything out-
rank.
Did you do anything outside of the States? To go, say, to Europe or
We
to
went,
your traveling band, if you will? And
we
what does that
played,
like?
we played at the Aloha Festival in Hawaii, which is called well, this was a yearly thing, but this time when we went, we were there for 2 months in Hawaii, and we played at officers' cocktail parties and marched in parades. And the Aloha Festival is a big thing in Hawaii, and it was on the main island. And a few times they flew us by small plane to all the other islands so that we played on all the islands. And that was the highlight of the whole thing, really. We didn't play in any, we played in Vancouver a few times, marched in parades in Vancouver, Washington, Vancouver, British Columbia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever stay at the Princess Hotel?
No, they wouldn't put us in a hotel. They used to put us on board some ship that's tied to some, you know.
Yeah, with the fish heads on the side.
Yeah, you got it. The smell of the ocean. No, we did those things. It was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work too. You know, when you're in the public eye like that, those uniforms have to be crisp,
spotless.
We had 3 pairs of boots, and I used to keep 2 ahead. You know, because if you marched in a parade in the morning, you know those boots weren't clean when you got to another one in the afternoon, so you had to change.
You have to wear leggings?
No, we did in boot camp, but.
I mean, when the parades.
No, just bloused. They were bloused
Okay.
over. They had the, you know, the blousing garter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we used to wear that. It was easier to wear the blouse with whites than it was with the heavy blues, you know. But they used to like the blues. They were brighter.
Yeah, stand out better.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Any particular playing or that you enjoyed that stands out as something you're really proud of or happy to do or did because you had to do it?
Well, I liked playing in the marching band, which was fun. You know, I still do that from time to time with the American Legion. But one thing that really taught me a lot was playing in the dance band. We had a dance band with 5 saxes, 4 trumpets, 4 trombones, you know, like the Tommy Dorsey type stuff.
The gold ball.
Oh, yeah. And we used to play for all of these big occasions that the military had with that band. But that's where I learned a lot about how to play tenor
Music,
sax and everything else. And
It was solo.
yeah, I did that.
Good.
And well, the first tenor sax player played all the ad-lib choruses, you know, the makeup ones. And I love that. And Carlton is the one that taught me how to play all those things. Now I do it here when I play with these people, with the other group. And it was a very, very important part in my life because it made me a professional musician.
Good.
It did. I learned. Of course, you learn because they told you you better learn, you know. The alternative wasn't very pleasant.
No, now I'm at this.
Yeah. So I think that was probably the highlight, was playing in that big band. Of course, we also had a 10-piece rock and roll band.
Oh, bang, bang, bang,
Used
bang.
to oh yeah, they used to do the soul music and all. Back in those days, it was the soul music that they played a lot of.
Slow trumpet.
Oh yeah. Trumpet, trombone, saxes, all this kind of stuff. Well, I never ever sang when I was in that band. Never sang. So when I got home, I was playing with a little quartet, and we went to try out for a job someplace. And the owner of the place said, "You guys are great. You play great music, but you don't have a vocalist." So the guy in charge of the band, he looks at him and says, "Well, if you hire us, tonight we'll get back here with a vocalist." It's right over my head, right? I'm not thinking about this at all. So we get up to the car, and he says, "Okay, we have a practice, a rehearsal." And I says, "Okay, but where are we going to get a vocalist?"
You're it.
He says, "How many words do you know to songs?" That's how I started singing, just so that we could get that gig.
Being honest, are you any good? Or do you sound good because you enjoy doing it?
I don't like the way I sound because people don't hear themselves the same way that other people do. When I hear a tape recording of myself, I say,
Who's that guy?
"Is that me? Do I really sound like that?" You know,
Is it a
the way
pleasant
we don't
sound?
sound. When you're actually singing, you don't hear what the mics pick up or anything else. everybody else tells me I'm okay.
Don't knock it. Don't knock it.
No, I'm not going to knock it until they start throwing things at me, and then I'm done.
Now, what do you do and that you're out of the service and you're now a civilian again? Where did you go? How did you get a job, get married, that kind of thing? We're to talk about the family.
Okay. I met a girl at a whist party, a church whist party at Thanksgiving, the year I came home. And that was quite a funny situation because I was sitting next to my brother-in-law, and across from me was this girl. We're playing cards, and you change partners and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she was speaking French to her mother.
And you were eavesdropping.
And, well, I could understand,
Okay.
but I wasn't that big on it. And my brother-in-law says, forget it. And I said, what do you mean? He says, you can't speak. How are you going to communicate with her? And I says, I'll find a way.
Love has a way.
Well, I played the mother. The mother was standing in line waiting for a cup of coffee, and it was a long line. My uncle was working in the kitchen. So I asked her if she wanted coffee. I could speak well enough to ask her that. And she said, sure.
Maybe.
Uh-huh. I went right there. I got a couple of cups of coffee, and I brought it to them. Oh, my mother-in-law loved me ever since.
Oh, yeah, you're a big man around
Oh,
here.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's tough because in those days, if you were a French-Canadian girl, you didn't marry an American. You married a French-Canadian guy. You know, and it was like that with Polish people. It was like that. It was, you know, the little ghettos. And,
So you escaped somehow then.
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. She accepted me.
Oh.
That was a pretty good thing, you know.
How long
I liked
ago?
her, too. She had, the lady was, she passed away when she was 93, and she had 18
Your
kids.
mother-in-law?
18 kids.
Wow.
Back in those days.
That was before
that's-
television.
Oh, yeah.
You had to do something at night.
18 kids. And I think maybe there's like, they lost, I think there's like 10 of them left now.
Okay.
You know, so.
Now, where did your bride come along? Was she one of the younger ones, the middle, or the end?
She was number 11.
Okay.
I call her that, and she gets upset with me.
Yeah,
I'll say, hey, number 11, that's enough. You know.
How about your own family?
My own family was,
Youngsters?
the 5 sisters. Well, my parents died when the first year I got married, as a matter of fact. My mother died. Then my father died some years later, probably about 10 years later. My mother was 59, my father was 70. And my sisters, I started off with the 5 of them, and now I'm down to 2. The oldest and the youngest are still alive.
Good.
The oldest is 89, and the youngest is 78. So we're an older family.
Yeah. How about your own kids?
My own kids, I have a son that's 46, the oldest one.
He's the Army guy.
No,
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 that- somebody
no.
else.
This is the oldest one. His name is Dennis, and he's 46. He worked for a while. I worked for Norman Doe Associates, which is here in Bedford. I was doing maintenance work for them because he got me the job. He works for them, and he also sidelines as the baseball coach for John Stark High School, and he's enjoying that pretty much.
Good.
I said, "Boy, you missed your calling. That's where you belong, you know." But you got to make a living, so he's doing GPS work for that company. The other one,
GPSs.
yeah,
What does that mean?
global satellite imaging.
Oh?
Yeah, and he makes maps. He shoots the satellite, gets the picture of the ground that he needs to make maps of. So he loves that job.
Now, did he train for that, college graduate, or did
He
bump
had a
into it?
degree. He had a degree in geography.
Okay,
And I
that would
said-
help. No,
and
with
I
the
said,
companies on.
yeah. I said, what are you going to do with that? You going to teach? And he says, no, I'm going to do computer map making.
Brand new thing to
Oh
you.
yeah, oh yeah. His first job, he rode around with a satellite on his car, finding new roads and all this stuff. And what a nice job that was.
Good for him. Huh?
And then the other one, well, he's been full-time National Guard for the last 20 years. His name was John. And the other one
No, was or is?
is still John, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sarge, we call him.
There's a big difference.
Yeah, we just call him a Sarge. Anyways, the other guy, the youngest one, he's about 10 years younger than the oldest one. And he's, his name is Ryan, and I can't believe this kid. He went to school, culinary arts, all kinds of stuff like that.
Johnson Wales?
Yeah. And I said, well, he's going to go to work in a restaurant. His first job, selling industrial tools.
Oh,
And
well,
you know-
unqualified, but a good salesman.
And in other words, and now he's a vice president of the company.
Okay.
I'm going, who knew? You know, this kid knew nothing about tools, everything about cooking, but he goes into tools and now he owns the company.
Else up here, a native ability.
Yeah, well, he's good with the finances and stuff.
Be a hell of a guy to have around when you're having a company picnic.
Oh.
I can't really cook up a hot dog.
It's funny because he's married to a girl that does not eat good. I mean, she's the fussiest eater in the world.
Oh.
And he is such a good cook. The boys would love to just have him live with them because none of the wives can cook like he can.
Oh, I thought if you didn't stop there.
Oh, yeah.
Any boys?
Huh?
Any more kids?
No, just 3 boys.
Okay.
3 boys.
Now, have you joined anything like the VFW, the Legion, and so forth?
Yeah, I've been in the
Are
Legion.
you active in it?
Well, I've been active in the band, the Legion band, and the firing squad.
Oh,
and,
well, that's active.
Huh?
You're always active there.
Yeah, yeah. Not really in the Legion itself, but in the
Auxiliary work.
auxiliary. Yeah. I like that. I like the camaraderie. A lot of people in there that you can learn from.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, they've been around a long time. The person that you asked me about, that if he would like, as a matter of fact, I'll probably take some forms when you're done and I'll bring it to him.
Happy to supply.
His name is George Rowe. He served 4 years in the Marines and then 24 years in the Coast Guard.
Hmm.
So he's been around too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Good to
I guess
see.
he's like, I think he's 86 now.
Yeah, you get Papa Paul still diddling.
Yeah, yeah. So these people can teach you a lot if you open your mind. I keep telling them, I used to tell my kids that all the time. You might laugh at an older person,
But listen
but they've
carefully.
lived.
Yeah.
They've lived, and they might know something you don't.
Right.
So keep an open mind.
Yeah.
And I did. And I'm trying to do that with my grandchildren now, but it's difficult because now I had 5 sisters and me. Now I have 5 granddaughters and 1 grandson. That grandson is swimming in a sea of estrogen. I feel so bad for him. They're always after him. But his name is Gunnar. He belongs.
G-U-N-A-R or
G-U-N-N-A-R. Yeah.
Okay. That's,
He belongs to the Army guy.
okay.
Not surprising.
Okay. That's great. Now, you said also you are in the firing squad of the Honor Guard.
Yeah, it's.
Are you on an on-demand group? People can
People
get
call.
you anywhere, anytime?
Yeah, they.
How would they do that so people out there might be able to tell?
Well, lots of times it's the funeral director that will call us.
Okay, you're
Because-
on call
yeah,
for them.
So if you have a parent or somebody that passes away and you want the honor guard, you tell we work specifically with the undertakers in
Yeah,
Nashua
yeah.
and so forth, and you talk to your undertaker and he calls us.
Any charge for that, or is that you
We
accept
don't.
donations?
I don't think we charge for it.
No, but
the
someone-
undertaker might.
Yeah. Well,
But
a buck's a
every
buck.
now and again, the undertaker will give us a check or something like that. But it's primarily to pay for the ammunition and pay for
Yeah,
uniforms
okay,
and
yeah.
stuff. We don't make anything individually.
But you make a lot of people happy.
Oh, the one time I sticks out in my mind was a Marine that passed away, and we fired. And when we were done firing, the man's son came to us, shook hands with everybody, and gave us an envelope, each one of us. And the guy had put $100 in each one of those.
Mm.
I said, I've never seen anything like that. I'd been doing it for
I know.
10 years, and I had never seen anybody do that.
Well, I saw something years ago after the volley. Some of the kids, the little kids, went around and picked up the shells.
Oh, yeah. Well, we do that now.
I know. You have to police there. They did it because it's a souvenir.
Yeah. Well, what we do is we pick up all the shells and give them to George, and he brings them to the undertaker, and the undertaker passes them out to the family.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Sacramento.
Yeah.
Now, kind of wrapping this all up. Silly question, but all you've seen and done, good and bad, would you recommend or that your service was a positive or negative effect on how you've lived since that time?
Oh, it's definitely a positive.
Okay.
You know, there were sad parts. All parts of life have different.
Yeah, the yin and the yang.
Yeah, and I'm very happy with the fact that I spent all that time.
Good.
You know, it wasn't a lot of time, but
you did it.
in those 2 years, I did things that people
Okay.
don't get a chance to do.
Oh.
And not just, for combat or anything like that, but,
Just learning about life.
yeah, learning about other people, where they come from, the buddies you were with. Even now, I don't think I could recognize any of them. Well,
know.
they wouldn't
'Cause they've gotten
recognize
fat
me.
and old.
Oh, possibly.
Yeah.
But, interesting story. I was selling doors and windows they're out of business now. They were a door business place in Nashville. But I was on the road selling these doors and windows, and I went to Taunton one day looking for a certain address, and I couldn't find it. And then I saw this great big boat yard. So I pulled into the boat yard, and I said, I'll go ask these people if they know where that is. So I walked in, and this guy came running out this dock, and he looked, and I looked at him, and he was a trumpet player in the band with me when
Wow.
I was in Vietnam, in the service. And I looked at him, and he says, yeah. He says, didn't you see the sign? It says Gray's Boathouse. That's what his name was, Gray. And I said, oh, my God, But it was total accident.
Yeah.
It was so nice to see him, too,
Oh,
because
yeah.
it had been, 15 years?
Do you still keep in touch, or is he gone?
Oh, I don't know where he is now,
Oh,
I wish I
have
could
3
have.
words for you. Thank you, sir, for your service and sharing this with us.
Well, you're very welcome.
Thank you. That's a wrap, folks. Again, one guy who did his thing, and 2 things. I'd like to remind you of this, and if you are so inclined, come and see me. We'll do the best we can to make you a happy person. Bob Stevens saying thank you, stay healthy, and do come and see us.